This isn't about chrome or horsepower anymore. It's about identity, survival, and the bike that just flipped the market upside down. Watch till the end to see why Honda's move could be the last nail in Harley's mythos. The day Honda crashed the party. Harley-Davidson didn't flinch. At first, the new model from Honda slid into showrooms with little fanfare, no Hollywood rollout, no patriotic soundtrack. But it didn't need one. The Honda Fury wasn't just another cruiser, it was a precision strike. And the moment it hit the floor, something inside the industry shifted. Quietly, fatally. This wasn't a flashy announcement, it was an ambush. Honda didn't try to outsell Harley by yelling louder. It didn't posture. It simply placed the Fury where no one expected, right in the middle of Harley's emotional territory. A long, low, aggressively styled chopper that whispered rebellion without shouting nostalgia. It looked like something a renegade might sketch on a bar napkin, but then Honda built it. Clean, efficient, disruptive. Harley had spent decades fortifying its brand fortress, wrapping itself in chrome, Americana, and heritage, but Honda found the crack. The Fury didn't challenge Harley's biggest bikes or loudest personalities. Instead, it offered a streamlined silhouette, an approachable price, and an experience that stripped away the drama. No ceremony, no legacy, just ride. What made the move brutal was its subtlety. Honda had released the Fury before, back in 2009, but never this quietly, never this confidently, and never in a market this starved for change. While Harley focused on big anniversaries and dealer loyalty programs, Honda circled back to the Fury and fine-tuned the formula. New trims, modernized paint, sleeker integration with modern components. No overhauls, no hype, just refinement where it mattered. This wasn't about entering a market, it was about changing the stakes. The Fury's re-entry didn't feel like competition, it felt like replacement. A signal to the industry and to Harley-Davidson riders everywhere. The rules just changed. And as the dust settled from the launch, it became clear. Harley wasn't just being challenged, it was being bypassed. But what really set the Fury apart wasn't its launch, it was who it was built for. Before we go deeper, pause for a second. If you've made it this far, you already know. This isn't just a product launch, it's a power shift. And what's coming next? It hits harder than anyone's ready for. So if you're into stories that expose how industries fall, how culture flips, and how legacy brands lose their grip, hit that like button and comment in the video, because we're just getting started, and the next story, it gets even uglier. Not built for bikers, built for the rest of us. For decades, cruisers demanded conformity. They weren't machines, they were declarations. Ride a Harley and you weren't just riding, you were stepping into a culture. But cultures have borders, and over time, those borders became walls. The Honda Fury ignored those walls. Instead of building a bike that appealed to bikers, Honda built one that appealed to riders. That single pivot in philosophy changed everything. The Fury is long, low, and visually aggressive, but it doesn't punish the body or demand a persona. With a seat height just over 26 inches and a laid-back frame geometry, the Fury fits more people, more comfortably, more of the time. That sounds small. It's not. It's the difference between intimidation and invitation, between looking like a cruiser and feeling like one. Harley's bikes often demand a kind of physical and psychological commitment. Wide grips, top-heavy balance, aggressive riding posture. The Fury? It lets you ease in. Whether you're 5'5" or 6'3", you can swing a leg over without tensing. Whether you're new to motorcycling or returning after years away, the Fury doesn't ask questions. It just rides. This approach doesn't dilute the experience. It enhances it, because accessibility isn't about compromise, it's about clarity. The Fury isn't trying to impress you with weight or stature. It's trying to connect. Its design language doesn't scream outlaw. It says freedom, without the dues. And for thousands of riders who had long admired cruisers from a distance, the Fury finally offered a way in without strings attached. Honda didn't just build a new kind of chopper, they built an alternative to the gatekeeping that's defined the cruiser scene for too long, and under that rider-first design was an engine that made everything click. Want gear that fits the future, not the past? It's all in the description below. This engine didn't roar, it overtook. The heart of the Honda Fury isn't loud. It doesn't shake the mirrors at idle. It doesn't demand earplugs. And that's exactly the point. The 1,312 cubic centimeter V-twin at its core is as smooth as it is powerful. And it changes the expectations of what a cruiser engine should do. This is not Harley's thump-thump theater. This is precision. With fuel injection, liquid cooling, and Honda's signature bulletproof engineering, the Fury's engine delivers consistent torque, a broad power band, and zero drama. You twist the throttle and it responds. Not with theatrics, but with poise. That's something Harley riders don't often talk about because their experience has always been filtered through sound and vibration. But once you ride a Fury, the silence becomes addictive. This isn't about neutering the cruiser identity, it's about modernizing it. Harley's engines are built to evoke the past. The Fury's engine is built to eliminate friction, literal and metaphorical. Maintenance is minimal, fuel efficiency is higher, and the ride, it just flows. Even the placement of the radiator and the way the exhaust pipes bend underneath the bike reveal a core principle. Don't make riders think about engineering. Make them feel the ride. And for every rider who's ever been overwhelmed by heat from an air-cooled engine in stop-and-go traffic or thrown off by unpredictable torque surges, the Fury offers something new. Control. It's a cruiser that doesn't fight you. It listens, and then it moves. But what made riders turn their heads first wasn't the engine, it was the silhouette. Style Harley can't touch. From a distance, the Honda Fury looks dangerous. That's intentional. It's got the stretched fork of a traditional chopper, the lean-forward stance of a street predator, and just enough curve in the tank to suggest motion even at a red light. But here's where it splits from tradition. The aggression is aesthetic, not structural. Where Harley often goes heavy on chrome, leather, and historic flourishes, the Fury opts for minimalism with muscle. Matte finishes, smooth welds, blacked-out component. It's modern design in a classic frame. This isn't fake rebellion, it's quiet authority. You don't need to be loud to be bold. The real design brilliance, though, is in how little it demands. The Fury doesn't make riders dress the part. It doesn't expect a certain haircut, attitude, or lifestyle. It just asks you to show up. That alone separates it from Harley's lineage of performative riding, where style often overshadows rideability. And on the road, the Fury doesn't disappoint. The ride is plush but responsive. The frame geometry absorbs city corners and open highway alike. It's a chopper that actually works in the real world. No endless elbowing through traffic, no dragging tailpipes or scraping pegs, just clarity of movement. You can take the Fury to a bike night or a cafe. It turns heads without trying to prove anything. And that's the threat for Harley. Because when a bike can capture the same attention without the noise, the old formula begins to look obsolete. And that attention, it's already spreading, but not the way Harley expected. The $12,000 threat. It only took one number to send shockwaves through Harley-Davidson's boardrooms. $12,000. That was the base price of the Honda Fury in the American market. $12,000 for a full-size, aggressive-looking cruiser with liquid cooling, fuel injection, and Honda's rock-solid reliability. At first glance, it might have seemed like just another spec on a brochure, but inside Harley's pricing model, it was a ticking bomb. Harley's least expensive cruiser offerings hover much higher. Even their stripped-down Sportster models, with fewer features and less engineering refinement, start closer to $15,000 once dealer fees, taxes, and mandatory accessories are factored in. That difference might not have mattered 5 years ago. But in an era of economic uncertainty, rising interest rates, and cost-conscious consumers, that $3,000 gap now feels like a canyon. This isn't just about affordability, it's about what riders get for that price. The Fury doesn't feel like a budget bike, it looks premium. It rides premium. It includes components. LED lighting, digital instrumentation, liquid-cooled engines that Harley often reserves for much more expensive machines. And when you compare what a buyer sees and feels sitting on a Fury versus a similarly priced Harley, it's not a fair fight. One feels refined, the other feels dated. That's the core threat. The Fury didn't just beat Harley on price, it shattered Harley's value proposition. For decades, Harley could rely on its brand to justify a premium, but brands only carry weight when the product keeps up. With the Fury, Honda didn't just undercut the price, it rewrote the buyer's mental equation. And when customers start asking not just how much, but why, Harley's whole model starts to buckle. But that pricing pressure wasn't new. Harley had tried to adapt once. It failed, and that failure still haunts them. The ghost of the street 750. In 2014, Harley-Davidson attempted something radical. For the first time in years, they stepped away from heavyweight cruisers and built something smaller, simpler, and cheaper, the Street Series. The Street 500 and Street 750 were supposed to be Harley's answer to the next generation: urban commuters, new riders, and price-sensitive consumers. On paper, it was the right move. In practice, it became a cautionary tale. The bikes weren't terrible, but they weren't good enough. Underpowered engines, vague throttle response, and a riding experience that lacked Harley's trademark character made them feel like shadows of the brand. Worse, they looked the part but didn't earn it, and riders could tell. Reviews were tepid, dealership enthusiasm was weak, and soon those bikes were relegated to back corners of showrooms or pushed onto rental fleets. What made the failure sting wasn't just the flop, it was what Harley did next. They didn't learn. They didn't iterate. They didn't refine the formula and try again. They walked away. Within a few years, the Street line was discontinued, and with it, Harley abandoned an entire segment of riders they had once promised to serve. Honda watched this unfold, quietly, carefully, and when it came time to position the Fury, they knew exactly where Harley had gone wrong. Honda didn't try to build a cheaper Harley. They built a better alternative. They didn't compromise quality to meet a price point. They applied their global manufacturing expertise to maintain standards while reducing cost. That difference shows. Harley had a window. They had a shot to lead the entry-level cruiser space, but they squandered it. And now, the ghost of the Street 750 hangs over every showroom, a reminder of a company that once tried to evolve and then gave up. That failure wasn't isolated. It was symptomatic. Because deep inside Harley's own factories, the foundation was already crumbling. A factory built for the 1970s. Harley-Davidson builds motorcycles like it's still 1978. That's not nostalgia. That's the problem. While other manufacturers embraced automation, modular platforms, and global supply chains, Harley kept its production rooted in tradition. There's a certain pride in that. But in the modern manufacturing war, pride doesn't pay the bills. Efficiency does, and on that front, Harley is badly outgunned. The Honda Fury isn't just cheaper because of lower wages or offshoring, it's cheaper because Honda knows how to scale. They build motorcycles in plants optimized for speed, consistency, and adaptability. Their engine platform for the Fury is shared with other models, allowing for parts compatibility, streamlined assembly, and rapid inventory turnover. That means fewer bottlenecks, lower costs, better margins. It also means Honda can ramp up or scale down production with minimal disruption. Harley, by contrast, is locked into a much older system. Many of its plants are organized around legacy workflows that require more human labor, more custom machining, and more downtime. That's not an indictment of the workers, it's a reflection of leadership that failed to modernize. While Honda has spent decades refining lean manufacturing practices, Harley doubled down on hand-built mystique. That strategy has real consequences. When material prices spike, Harley has fewer ways to absorb the cost. When demand shifts, they can't pivot quickly. And as consumer expectations evolve, Harley's production model becomes a liability rather than a badge of honor. The Fury doesn't just beat Harley in the showroom, it beats them in the warehouse, the supply chain, and the assembly line. And every day that gap widens, Harley loses ground they may never recover. But even before the numbers hit the bottom line, the cracks were already showing. On the showroom floor, dealers are quietly giving up. They won't say it out loud, but in back offices and group chats, Harley dealers are admitting it. Something's changed. The buyers aren't walking in like they used to. And when they do, they're asking about specs, not symbolism. Meanwhile, across town, Honda showrooms are seeing something else. Movement. Fury models are flying off the floor. No incentives, no hand-holding, just pure demand. The kind Harley used to dream of in its peak years. For some Harley dealers, the math is brutal. A Fury sells in weeks. A comparable Harley might sit for months, collecting dust and debt, and it gets worse. Warranty claims are lower, service is easier, satisfaction scores are higher. Now, whispers are turning into quiet calculations. A few dealers have started diversifying, applying for big wing partnerships on the side, not because they stopped believing in Harley, but because they stopped believing Harley would fight back. This isn't betrayal, it's survival. Because when your floor turns into a graveyard, sometimes you start rooting for the other side. Gen Z doesn't care about your patch. For decades, Harley sold a lifestyle, a tribe. You didn't just buy a bike, you earned a patch. But the truth? The next generation isn't interested in joining anyone's club. To Gen Z, the Fury doesn't just look better, it feels like a reset. No gatekeeping, no ego, just clean, fast, real. It doesn't demand you perform toughness, it invites you to define your own. They grew up in an era of crisis, economic, environmental, social. They aren't drawn to legacy, they're drawn to utility. They don't want a weekend badge, they want something they can trust, park easily, and ride every day without sacrificing design. And here's the twist that Harley never expected. For this generation, silence is louder than noise. The Fury doesn't thump to prove anything. It glides. And in cities and college towns across America, that restraint. It's becoming the new rebellion. But while young riders are switching lanes, something deeper is unraveling behind the factory walls. The labor pride is breaking. In the break rooms of Harley's oldest plants, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Missouri, you won't hear outrage, you'll hear doubt. Quiet, heavy, familiar. These are workers who once believed they were building America's last great machine. Every bolt turned was a point of pride. But now, it feels like preservation for preservation's sake. As news of Honda's Fury spreads, not just the styling, but the manufacturing precision, the speed to market, the volume, some Harley workers are asking questions management doesn't want to hear. How long can we keep doing it this way? Who are we even building for anymore? It's not about wages, it's about purpose. The Fury and the future it signals is making Harley's lines feel like a museum exhibit. Beautiful, historic, but still. And in that stillness, morale begins to slip. Not because workers don't care, but because they care too much. Enough to wonder if they're now standing on the wrong side of change. And that emotional fracture, it's not lost on people whose job is to predict value. Wall Street smells a dinosaur. For years, Harley-Davidson was considered a dependable American brand with emotional equity that translated to premium pricing. But emotion doesn't fill balance sheets. And lately, the numbers are telling a colder story. Investors don't see the Fury as just another competitor. They see it as a signal, an exposure point. Harley's core business model depends on selling fewer bikes for more money. But what happens when consumers want more bike for less? That's not a marketing issue. That's an existential flaw. In recent earnings calls, whispers turned into metrics. Inventory buildup, slower turnover, thinner margins. Harley's prestige pricing model is being undercut not by discount brands, but by a sleeker alternative that young riders actually want. Analysts are starting to question Harley's long-term viability. Is it still a growth stock or a legacy trap? For a company built on mythology, the real danger isn't just losing customers, it's losing confidence. And as the investor class grows nervous, another market half a world away makes a much simpler decision. Asia didn't blink. It bought in. In Mumbai, Jakarta, and Manila, the name Harley-Davidson still turns heads, but it doesn't move units. Because in these fast-growing economies, there's a new benchmark, and it wears a Honda badge. Honda didn't stumble into Asia. It built trust here for decades. It built roads and networks, trained mechanics, invested in showrooms, and made reliability feel personal. So when the Fury launched, it wasn't seen as foreign. It was seen as a long overdue answer. Price? Right. Size? Just right. Efficiency? Near perfect. This wasn't nostalgia, it was now. Harley tried to partner with local manufacturers once, but it never fully committed. It treated Asia like a side bet. Honda treated it like home field. And now, the Fury is becoming the aspirational cruiser in markets where Harley couldn't even maintain inventory. Young riders aren't chasing American dreams. they're building their own. The bike of the future isn't roaring down Route 66. It's weaving through Manila traffic, sliding through Bangalore side streets, parking in Ho Chi Minh cafes. Harley lost Asia. The Fury claimed it and didn't even slow down. Kawasaki, Enfield, everyone's panicking. When Honda released the Fury, it didn't just undercut Harley, it blew a hole straight through the cruiser segment's pricing floor. In boardrooms across India, Japan, and Europe, red pens came out fast. Suddenly, products that once seemed competitively priced looked bloated, vulnerable, and painfully outdated. At Kawasaki, the Eliminator 500 was positioned as a sleek alternative. On paper, it still is. But now, with the Fury slicing below it in cost and outpacing it in refinement, every feature feels less like an advantage and more like a desperate justification. Royal Enfield's Super Meteor, trapped. Too expensive to compete on affordability. Too bare bones to sell as a premium. And while engineers scramble to add value, Honda's Fury is already moving units. Promotions are being rewritten. Executives are whispering words they once dismissed. Rebate, relaunch, restructure. The Fury didn't spark a price war. It triggered a strategic identity crisis. But this panic? It's only the beginning, because what Honda just cracked open wasn't just a market, it was a culture. Cruiser culture just cracked. There was a time when buying a cruiser meant buying into a tribe. You weren't just riding, you were representing. Black leather, chrome tanks, rebel slogans, that image was currency. But then something changed. The Fury didn't come wrapped in nostalgia. It came clean. No tribal branding, no performative loudness. Just stripped-down power and honest design. And suddenly, a generation raised on minimalism, efficiency, and quiet confidence saw something different. Freedom without the front. Across TikTok and YouTube, Fury riders aren't posing. They're documenting their commutes, their weekend escapes, their solo night rides through neon-lit streets. The tone isn't aggressive, it's personal. And that intimacy is rewriting what a cruiser even means. Harley-Davidson built a mythology around defiance. Honda built the Fury around access. And the truth? Generation Z didn't want to join a brotherhood. They wanted a machine that respected their reality. And when the meaning of a machine changes, so does everything downstream of it, including how it's made, where it's sold, and who decides what's next. The global motorcycle economy just flipped. Honda's victory didn't start in the showroom, it started in the factory. The Fury isn't just a motorcycle, it's a product of manufacturing supremacy. Honda can build it in multiple countries on shared platforms using supply chains that have been battle-tested for decades. That means fewer delays, fewer cost spikes, and more resilience in times of economic volatility. Harley can't say the same. Its production model is still rooted in the 20th century. Limited runs, high labor costs, and aging infrastructure that wasn't built for speed or scale. And that's the quiet earthquake the Fury just unleashed. It proved that quality, efficiency, and affordability can coexist. It set a new global benchmark. And now every other brand is being measured against it. In India, the Fury hits the sweet spot of premium and practical. In Europe, it feels like an answer to inflation. In Southeast Asia, it's already gaining ground with younger riders priced out of traditional cruisers. This isn't brand loyalty anymore, it's economic logic. But the most dangerous shift of all? It's not happening in factories or among fans. It's happening in the one room Harley never wanted to lose. If you've made it this far, you're not just watching, you get it. Subscribe now so you don't miss what comes next. The next reveal might shake the industry even harder. This wasn't a bike, it was a revolution. Inside Harley-Davidson's executive offices, there are two types of silence. The kind that follows a great idea, and the kind that follows a realization too late to stop. Lately, it's been the second kind, because the Fury wasn't a direct attack, it was an end run. Honda didn't challenge Harley on tradition, it ignored it entirely. It built something leaner, quieter, and sharper. And in doing so, it exposed the weight Harley refused to shed. This wasn't a product cycle, it was a paradigm shift. The Fury didn't just win a spec war, it redefined what winning looks like. Fewer frills, less ego, more reach, more reason. And now the fallout isn't just visible in slipping sales, it's written across the entire industry's roadmap. Designers are scrapping old templates. Dealers are requesting more flexible inventory. Buyers are questioning what they've been told for decades. The Fury's success didn't just fracture Harley's dominance, it split time. Before this bike and after it. Legacy doesn't protect you when relevance leaves the room. And for the first time in over a century, Harley-Davidson isn't writing the story. Because the road ahead, it belongs to the rider who doesn't need to announce himself. He just rides and lets the silence say everything. This wasn't just a new bike on the road, it was a message on wheels that the future isn't loud, it's smart, it's lean, it's already here. And Harley, they're not just being challenged, they're being replaced. So what happens next? Will Harley adapt or fade into legend? That answer isn't just up to the boardroom anymore. It's in the hands of every rider deciding what kind of future they want to ride into. Subscribe to see what that future really looks like. Because this fight, it's far from over. Don't forget to like and comment your thoughts. We talk about where Harley's headed, but sometimes to understand the fall, you have to step into the room where it all began. Willie G's garage held more than tools. It held truths the brand never spoke. Tap to watch, and if you're still here, you know what to do.